Certain wounds never fully heal. Being disowned by your parents. Being told at 18 years old that you're no longer their child. Being erased from a family like you never existed. That kind of rejection marks you, changes you, stays with you for the rest of your life. My name is Alexandra Bennett. I am 30 years old, and 12 years ago, my parents sat me down 2 weeks before my high school graduation and told me I was no longer their daughter. No warning, no argument, no chance to fix whatever I'd done wrong. Just cold, final words. We've decided you're not part of this family anymore. You need to leave. I was 18. I had $400 in my bank account. I had nowhere to go. No extended family who would take me in. No safety net. I left that house with 2 suitcases and the absolute certainty that I would never see my parents again. For 12 years, I built a life from nothing. I survived. I succeeded. I became someone they would never know. And then, 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call from a lawyer I'd never met. Alexandra Bennett? This is Robert Morrison. I'm the attorney handling the estate of Margaret and Richard Bennett. I need you to come to my office for the reading of the will. You're named as a beneficiary. My parents are dead. Both of them. Car accident. And after 12 years of complete silence, after 12 years of being erased, I was in their will. I didn't know if I should laugh or cry. I went to that reading. I sat in a room with people I didn't recognize, family members who'd watched my parents disown me and said nothing. And when the lawyer called my name and read what they'd left me, the entire room went silent. This is the story of being disowned at 18 and discovering 12 years later that the parents who threw you away had been planning something you never saw coming. Before I tell you what was in that will, before I tell you what my parents left me after 12 years of silence, before I tell you how the family members in that room reacted when they heard it, I need something from you. If this story is already breaking your heart, if you've ever been rejected by family, if you've ever had to build a life alone when you should have had support, hit that like button right now for everyone who survived abandonment. Subscribe to this channel if you want real stories about people who were cast out by family and thrived anyway, who built lives from nothing, who discovered that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. And drop a comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've been disowned. Tell me if you survived family rejection. I read every single comment. We're survivors here. We're the ones who were thrown away and refused to break. Now, let me take you back to the beginning, because to understand what that will meant, you need to understand why they disowned me and the 12 years I spent believing they hated me. I need to tell you about my family before everything came apart. My parents, Margaret and Richard Bennett, were wealthy, old money, Manhattan penthouse, summer house in the Hamptons, country club, private schools, the whole upper-class package. My father was a corporate attorney, senior partner at a prestigious firm. My mother came from money. Her family owned real estate all over New York. They had 3 children. My older brother, William, he was 22 when I was 18. Harvard graduate, already working at father's firm, the golden son, perfect in every way. My younger sister, Caroline, she was 16, attending the same elite private school I'd attended. Beautiful, polished, obedient, everything our parents wanted. And then there was me, the middle child, the complicated one, the one who asked too many questions. I wasn't rebellious. I didn't do drugs. I didn't party. I got good grades. I was accepted to Columbia University with a partial scholarship. But I wasn't like them. I didn't want their life. I didn't want the country club, the charity galas, the hollow conversations, the performance. I wanted something real, something meaningful. When I was 17, I started volunteering at a homeless shelter in Harlem. Every weekend, I'd take the subway, serve meals, talk to people, hear their stories. My mother hated it. "Alexandra, that's not appropriate. Those aren't your people." I said, "They're human beings, Mom. They're everyone's people." She said, "You're exposing yourself to danger, to the disease, to influences that aren't suitable for someone of your background." I kept volunteering. I also started questioning things. The way my father's firm represented corporations that destroyed small businesses. The way my mother's charity events raised money but never actually helped anyone. The way my brother bragged about his salary while people starved 6 blocks away. I became uncomfortable being around because I made them uncomfortable. When college acceptances came, I got into Columbia. My parents were pleased. Columbia is acceptable. You'll be in business or law, then you'll work at father's firm. I said, "I want to study social work." My father laughed. "Social work, Alexandra? That's not a career. That's a hobby for wealthy women who need something to do." I said, "It's what I want to do. I want to help people." My mother said, "You can help people by marrying well and serving on charity boards, like I do. Social work is beneath your station." I applied to Columbia's social work program anyway. The final breaking point came 2 weeks before my high school graduation. I came home from the shelter on a Saturday afternoon. My parents were waiting in the living room, sitting formally. It was like a business meeting. My father said, "Alexandra, sit down. We need to talk." I sat. He said, "Your mother and I have been discussing your future. It was likened to the path you're taking, your association with that shelter, your choice of major, your attitude towards your family and your heritage." I said, "My attitude? I'm grateful for everything you've given me, but I want to use it to help people who weren't born with the same advantages." My mother said, "That's the problem. You seem to think you're better than us, more moral, more enlightened, but you're 18 years old. You don't know anything about the world." I said, "I know enough to know that people are struggling, that we have resources to help, that we should be doing more." My father said, "We've made a decision. If you insist on studying social work, if you continue volunteering at that shelter, if you continue down this path, we will not support you." I said, "What does that mean?" He said, "It means no tuition, no apartment, no allowance, no financial support of any kind." I felt my stomach drop. My scholarship to Columbia covered tuition, but not housing, not food, not books, not living expenses. I'd need help. I said, "So you're blackmailing me, trying to control my life by threatening to cut me off." My mother said, "We're trying to guide you, to save you from making a terrible mistake." I said, "Helping people isn't a mistake."
My father stood up. "Then you'll have to learn that lesson the hard way. We're disowning you, Alexandra. You're no longer part of this family. You have until the end of the week to move out." I stared at him. "You're disowning me because I want to study social work?" My mother said, "We're disowning you because you've rejected everything we stand for, everything we've built. You're an embarrassment to this family." My brother William was standing in the doorway. He'd heard everything. He said nothing, just looked at me with something between pity and relief that it wasn't him. My sister Caroline was at a friend's house. I don't think they even told her I was leaving. I left that house 4 days later with 2 suitcases, $400, and no family. Those first 2 years were brutal. I found a room in a shared apartment in Washington Heights, $600 a month, 4 roommates, 1 bathroom, mice, mold, but it was mine. I worked 3 jobs while going to Columbia: waitressing, tutoring, research assistant. I slept 4 hours a night. I ate ramen and peanut butter. I had $50 a month for everything else. My scholarship covered tuition, financial aid covered books, but everything else was on me. I graduated in 4 years, at the top of my social work program, got accepted to the MSW program, Master's in Social Work, 2 more years. For those 2 years, I worked at a nonprofit, Youth at the Top, helping teenagers who'd aged out of foster care. Kids were abandoned, like me, who had to build lives from nothing. I understood them. They understood me. I got my MSW at 24, started working full-time as a social worker, making $35,000 a year. Not much, but I loved it. I worked with homeless populations, with domestic violence survivors, with children in crisis, real people with real problems. I saved every penny I could, lived in that same apartment until I was 26, then moved to a slightly better one. For 12 years, I never heard from my parents. Not a birthday card, not a Christmas call, nothing. I heard about them occasionally, through mutual acquaintances I couldn't avoid, through news articles about my father's firm, through society pages featuring my mother's charity events. I heard my brother got married. Big society wedding. I wasn't invited, obviously. I heard my sister got into Yale. I felt proud, even though she'd never reached out. I wondered sometimes if they ever thought about me, if they ever regretted their choice, if they ever looked me up online to see if I was okay. I never looked them up. I told myself I didn't care. By my late 20s, I was doing well. I'd become a supervisor at the nonprofit, making $50,000 a year. I had a decent apartment, a car, savings, a life. I was dating someone, Alex. He was a teacher. Kind, patient, understanding. He knew about my family, about being disowned. He never pressured me to reach out. I was happy. Not the life my parents wanted for me, but mine. And then, 3 weeks ago, I got the call. I was at work, in the middle of a session with a client, a teenage girl who'd just been placed in foster care. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I ignored it. It buzzed again, same number, then a voicemail. After my session, I listened to the voicemail. Ms. Bennett, this is Robert Morrison. I'm an attorney with Morrison and Associates. I need to speak with you urgently regarding the estate of Margaret and Richard Bennett. Please call me back as soon as possible. I listened to it 3 times. Estate? That meant they were dead. My parents are dead. I called Alex. My parents are dead. A lawyer just called. He said, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I said, "I don't know. I haven't seen them in 12 years. They disowned me. I don't know how to feel." He said, "Do you want me to come with you to meet the lawyer?" I said, "Yes." I called the lawyer back. Robert Morrison. Professional voice, neutral tone. He said, "Ms. Bennett, thank you for returning my call. I'm sorry to inform you that your parents were killed in a car accident 2 weeks ago. The funeral has already happened." The funeral already happened. They'd been dead for 2 weeks and nobody told me. He continued, "I'm handling their estate. You're named in the will. I need you to come to my office for the reading next Friday at 2 p.m. I said, "I'm in the will? They disowned me 12 years ago." He said, "I understand this is complicated, but yes, you're named. I can't discuss the contents over the phone. You'll need to be present." I said, "Who else will be there?" He said, "Your brother William, your sister Caroline, several other family members. 16 people total." I said, 16 people and none of them called to tell me my parents died? He said, "I'm sorry, I don't have information about family communications. I only know you're in the will." I hung up. Alex said, "What do you think they left you?" I said, "Probably $1. That's what people do when they want to make a point. Leave you $1 so you can't contest the will." He said, "Maybe, or maybe they regretted what they did." I said, "They had 12 years to show regret. They chose silence." The law office was in Midtown Manhattan, expensive building, 42nd floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I wore my best outfit, a simple black dress, my only nice shoes. I wanted to look like I'd done okay without them. Alex waited in the lobby. I went up alone. The conference room was large, dark wood, leather chairs, 16 people already seated. My brother William, 34 now, still looking like the golden child, expensive suit, Rolex, smug expression. My sister Caroline, 28, beautiful, poised. She looked at me and quickly looked away. Aunts and uncles I remembered from childhood, cousins, my mother's sister, my father's brother, all of them were looking at me like a ghost. Nobody spoke to me, nobody said hello, nobody offered condolences. I sat at the far end of the table, alone. Robert Morrison walked in. 50s, gray hair, reading glasses, professional demeanor. He said, "Thank you all for coming. I know this is a difficult time. I'll try to make this as straightforward as possible." He opened a folder, the will, thick document, dozens of pages. He said, "The last will of Margaret Louise Bennett and Richard James Bennett, executed 10 years ago, updated 6 months ago." Updated 6 months ago. They'd been thinking about this recently. He started reading, legal language, then the bequests. "To my son, William Bennett, I leave my shares in the Bennett and Associates law firm, valued at approximately $2 million. William nodded, expected. "To my daughter, Caroline Bennett, I leave the summer home in the Hamptons and the contents therein, valued at approximately $1.5 million. Caroline's eyes filled with tears. "To my sister, Elizabeth Warren, I leave my jewelry collection. To my brother, Thomas Bennett, I leave my art collection." He continued, "Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone is getting something. Furniture, cars, stocks, bonds." Then he paused. He said, "And now we come to the primary bequest, the bulk of the estate." Everyone leaned forward. He said, "To my daughter, Alexandra Bennett, I leave the Manhattan penthouse, all remaining financial assets, including bank accounts, investment portfolios, and retirement accounts, and full ownership of all real estate holdings, excluding the Hamptons property. Total estimated value, $18 million. The room exploded. William stood up. "What? That's impossible. She's been disowned. She hasn't been part of this family for 12 years. Caroline said, "There must be a mistake. Why would they leave everything to her?" My Aunt Elizabeth said, "This is outrageous. She abandoned them." Robert Morrison held up his hand. "Please, let me finish." He pulled out another document. Margaret and Richard Bennett included a letter to be read aloud at the reading, specifically addressed to Alexandra. He looked at me. "Ms. Bennett, would you like me to read this now or privately?" I said, my voice shaking. "Now, in front of everyone." Robert Morrison put on his reading glasses. He began to read. "Dear Alexandra, if you're hearing this, we're gone, and we owe you an explanation that's 12 years overdue. We disowned you when you were 18. We told you it was because you were an embarrassment, because you rejected our values, because you chose social work over law. We lied. The truth is, we were terrified that you were right, that the life we'd built was hollow, that our priorities were wrong, that our legacy was empty. You were 18 years old, and you saw through everything we'd spent decades building. You saw that charity galas weren't charity, that our wealth came from exploitation, that we were choosing status over substance. And you dared to say it out loud, to reject it, to choose different. And we couldn't handle that. Your father and I had built our entire identities on being successful, on being respected, on being part of the upper class. And you looked at all of it and said, "No, thank you. I want to help people instead." You made us feel small, not intentionally, but your choices were a mirror that showed us who we really were, and we didn't like what we saw. So we did what cowards do. We pushed you away. We told ourselves you'd fail, that you'd come crawling back, that you'd realize we were right. But you didn't fail. You thrived. We know. We've been watching. For 12 years, we've hired private investigators. We followed your career. We've watched you become exactly who you said you'd become. We watched you graduate from Columbia, top of your class. We were there, in the back of the auditorium. You didn't see us. We watched you get your master's. We watched you start working at nonprofits. We watched you help people we'd never bother to help. We watched you become a supervisor, win awards for your work, get recognized by the mayor for your service to the homeless community. We watched you become more successful at helping people than we ever were at pretending to. And we were proud, so proud. But we were also ashamed. Ashamed that we'd thrown you away. Ashamed that we'd chosen our egos over our daughter. Ashamed that we'd let 12 years pass without saying we were wrong. We wanted to reach out hundreds of times, but we didn't know how. We'd burned that bridge so completely, we didn't think you'd ever forgive us. So we made a different choice. We rewrote our will. William doesn't need more money. He's successful. He's fine. He got enough from us. Caroline doesn't need either. She'll have the Hamptons house. She'll be comfortable. But you, Alexandra, you've built a life on $50,000 a year. You've helped hundreds of people with resources we wasted on ourselves. So we're giving you everything. The penthouse, the investments, the real estate, $18 million. Not because we think money fixes what we did, it doesn't, but because if anyone should have our wealth, it's the daughter who would have earned it herself anyway. The daughter who proved she didn't need us. The daughter who became extraordinary despite us. Use it however you want. Keep helping people, or buy yourself something nice for once, or burn it all. We don't get to dictate anymore. We just want you to know. We were wrong about everything. About what matters, about what makes a life worthwhile, about you. You were right all along. We love you. We always did. We just forgot how to show it. We're sorry for 12 years of silence, for 12 years of cowardice, for choosing our pride over our daughter. You deserved better parents. You deserved support. You deserved love. We hope the life you've built is everything you wanted, because you built it yourself, and that's more impressive than anything we ever did. We're proud of you, Alexandra. We were always proud. We just wish we'd told you while we could hear you say it back. With love and regret, Mom and Dad. Robert Morrison finished reading. The room was silent. He set the letter down. He said, "There's also a video message if you'd like to watch it." I couldn't speak. I just nodded. He turned on his screen. My parents appeared, looking older than I remembered. My father is in a sweater. My mother is in casual clothes, sitting in their living room. My father spoke first. "Alexandra, sweetheart, we hope you're watching this with an open heart. We know we hurt you. We know 12 years doesn't disappear because of a will or a letter." My mother said, "We've watched you from afar. We know about your work, your awards, the lives you've changed. We're so proud of who you've become. my father said. "We're giving you the estate because you're the only one who'll use it for good. William will be fine. Caroline will be fine. But you'll change lives with this money." My mother said, "We love you. We always loved you. We just loved our pride more, and we're sorry." The video ended. That was 3 weeks ago. I inherited $18 million from parents who disowned me. My brother is contesting the will, claims they weren't of sound mind, that I manipulated them somehow, even though I hadn't seen them for 12 years. His lawyer has no case. The will is airtight. Multiple doctors certified my parents' mental competency. It'll be dismissed. My aunt called me. Once. She said, "I don't understand why they left everything to you. You weren't even here." I said, "I wasn't here because they threw me away." She said, "They had their reasons." I said, "Their reasons were wrong. They admitted it." She hung up.
I don't know what I'm going to do with the money yet. I'm still processing. Part of me wants to reject it, to say I don't need their guilt money, that I built a life without them and I don't need their estate. But another part of me thinks about the letter, about them watching me for 12 years, being proud, being too ashamed to reach out, about them wanting me to use their wealth for good. I've started making plans. I'm going to keep working, keep doing what I do, but now I'll fund it myself. I'll start a foundation for kids aging out of foster care, for homeless youth, for people society throws away. I'll call it the Bennett Foundation, not after them, after me, after Bennett learned that being thrown away doesn't define you, that building a life from nothing makes you stronger than inheriting one. I moved into the house last week. It's strange, walking through rooms I remember from childhood, sleeping in a place where I was told I wasn't wanted, but it's mine now, and I'm going to fill it with people who need a place, with foster kids who need to know someone believes in them, with young adults who need a chance. I'm going to turn my parents' monument to status into a home for people they would have ignored. My parents disowned me at 18. They thought they were teaching me a lesson, that I'd fail without them. Instead, I succeeded. I became exactly who I wanted to be. And 12 years later, they admitted I was right all along. They're gone now. I'll never get to hear them say, "We're proud of you," to my face. I'll never get those 12 years back. But I have their letter, their video, their admission that I made the right choice. And I have $18 million to prove that the life they rejected was worth more than the life they chose. If you're watching this and you've been disowned, rejected, thrown away by family who should have loved you, hear this. You don't need their approval. You don't need their money. You don't need them. Build your life anyway. Become who you're meant to be anyway. Prove them wrong by succeeding without them. And if they ever realize their mistake, if they ever try to come back, you get to decide. You hold the power. You set the terms. My parents tried to come back through a will, through money, through words written when they knew they wouldn't have to face me. It's not enough. It doesn't fix 12 years, but it's something. And I'm going to use it to make sure no other kid has to choose between being who they are and having a family. My name is Alexandra Bennett. I was disowned at 18 for choosing to help people instead of making money. 12 years later, I inherited $18 million from the parents who threw me away. The irony isn't lost on me. Subscribe if you want to follow what happens next. How do I use this money? What the foundation becomes? And remember, being thrown away doesn't mean you're worthless. Sometimes it just means you're too valuable to the people who discarded you to understand.